voices in the blackest night, spitting tales of emerald light. Myron and Phil with the banter tight, lantern stories taking flight. Heroes clad in emerald light, cosmic battles in the dark of night. Guardians calling from the galactic height, power rings are shining bright. Tune in for the mighty lore, legends that you can't ignore. From Mogo to Sinestro's war, the podcast of all that gives you more.
Green Lantern fans, welcome to episode number 266 of the podcast of Bova. I'm your co-host, Myron Rumsey, and my friend on the other end is Mr. Phil Bova. Phil, my friend, how are things going in your end of the world?
Oh, things are going good, man. Just getting ready for Halloween. Love it. I love this time of the year. I love the fall, and I
Me
love wearing
too.
warm clothes and stuff, man. Yeah,
I have most of my stuff up, but we've had some bad weather here, so some of my cemetery occupants will not survive the bad weather. So I've had to yank some stuff back in and redo certain things, and but I'll be ready for the army of the living dead that are going to descend upon me on Halloween night. We usually get between 300 and 400 trick-or-treaters, so we'll see how it goes.
I was gonna ask to see how many you're gonna get this year. Maybe you're gonna
Yeah,
break the record every year, you know?
it seems to get bigger every year, and it's not so much what I'm doing, but we live in a almost, I don't want to say an enclosed neighborhood. It's not really enclosed, but it's a half circle off of a main road, and so it's a good sized neighborhood. And a lot of people come into this neighborhood because it's a safe place to walk around with kids.
Right. That's cool.
But
You
that's
make
all
it.
good. We have a little bit of a different episode tonight. You and I recorded part of this a couple weeks back, and between Halloween and some things going on in my life, I did not get the episode edited yet. So what we'll do rather than publish that episode and then talking about Green Lantern Corps number 9, we're just going to take that and insert it together. We'll make it a twofer. So our clothes are going to change as we switch between the different segments, but hopefully people will enjoy the fact that we're doing both Green Lantern 27 and Green Lantern Corps number 9. In terms of Green Lantern news, there's been some interesting things. I mean, by now everybody knows Warner Brothers is trying to sell themselves. There's been a lot of weird things back and forth, and somewhere I saw, and I don't know if this is something James Gunn said or somebody else, or if it's one of those internet rumor things, but that Lanterns might be held back until after the Supergirl movie comes out. Uh,
Heard
did
that
you
too.
did you hear that too?
Yeah, I also heard that, that this whole thing all about Jon Stewart, which I called that like years back. I said, if
Yeah,
they're going to come out with any lanterns, it was going to be it's going to be John Stewart centered. I mean, I knew that was going to happen, and of course, that's what it is. So, yeah.
right, right. Any I hope I had for the show is completely gone at this point. I'm glad I dropped HBO Max, but
Well, I mean, to be fair, who can afford to have that stuff anymore?
well,
Jesus.
yeah, they just raised the prices again.
I mean, there you go. So Paramount's going to buy them out, and then Paramount's going to merge with HBO Max, and then what are they going to charge? 29.99 for both streaming? Come on, man. This whole thing's just getting.
Right. And how that impacts the DCU movies, how it impacts Lanterns, how it impacts any of this stuff, who knows at this point?
Well, the
Uh,
problem is it's getting political, and people are making it political, and it's not going to be a good sign when that's what people make these things out to be, especially when you got big companies running what you're seeing. So I don't know, whatever.
right.
We'll see, whatever.
You could end up in a situation where Lanterns is a casualty of the sale of Warner Brothers because they want a tax write-off. Who knows? It's gonna be interesting times for the next several months as all this
Well,
stuff kind of works its way out.
to be fair, I mean, Gunn and Safran are making money. I mean, Superman was a hit. I mean, they made money for it. Minecraft made money. They've had banger hits. I mean, it ain't like they're slacking and making and making money. Peacemaker's been great. I mean, it's been well received and it's doing well. I mean, for all intents and purposes, is their reboot or rebranding or whatever you want to call it and tag it with is doing well. I'd hate to see it being interrupted by bullcrap though. You know what I mean? Like this is all they need is to have. I mean, they finally get on a good start, right? And you're finally at a phase. Oh yeah, this is great. Everything's looking good. Oh, here comes a stupid merger that totally wipes out whatever they're going to do or screws it up, or you never know. I mean, they're going to tell you, yeah, well, we're going to keep everything intact and blah blah blah. Man, that's just smoke. You know, they're not going to tell you what they're going to do.
Yeah, it's hard to say what's going to happen with all
Yeah,
this stuff, and um,
it
the
is.
the jury's kind of out a little bit on how well things are going. Some things I've read here and there are that things are not as rosy as this that they're making it out to be, but that could also just be naysayers, right? So hard to say what's reality and what isn't.
I mean, that's the problem with the world we live in, right?
Yep, yep.
There's no transparency, and when it is, you don't even know if it's truth or not. So what the hell?
No, you really can't trust much of anything anymore. Just when you think you found a trusted source for information, you find out that's not really trusted either. So
Well,
it's
to be
difficult.
fair, people are going to come to us, and we are a good trusted source of information. And
Until we're
that's not
not,
fake
right?
news either. That's legit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think no matter what happens, people end up with targets on their back. I mean, I've seen people come at me not too long ago for defending Jeremy Adams online and trying to brand me as something I'm not. We live in a world right now where nobody can see um what's the right choice of words here. Nobody can see the range or the spectrum of things. You're either all one way or all another way, right?
Well, there's no gray area anymore, right?
No,
I
no.
mean,
Well, and
you used to be able to skate by in the gray, and then all of a sudden that's taken away from you, and it's like, okay, well, now I got to watch my really bad P's and Q's, right? But it's okay for like, I don't know, I don't want to make this a political show, but you're right.
sure.
I mean, it is getting tough. I mean, even working at a school like I do, I work with high school kids all day long, and they're city kids. You know, I got a kid telling me F you to my face, like, what I want to do is clock you. Just punch you right in the
It's
nose. But I'm
it's
gonna go to
crazy.
jail. I'm gonna
It,
go to
it
jail.
it's
And you
crazy.
curse
Well,
them out, say something to them. Yeah.
it's just no matter what you're talking about, whether it's politics or whatever, it doesn't make a difference. It's either way on the one end of the spectrum over here and way on the other end of the spectrum over here. And if you're on this side and you're looking at somebody who's in the middle, they're over here from your perspective. And the same person being looked at from the far extreme on the other side sees you way over there, even if you're in the middle. So it really doesn't matter. There's no, like you said, there's no gray area anymore when it comes to anything. And you're judged harshly on one side or the other or both, depending on where you fall. And it is what it is.
And you know what's funny is when you said something stupid, you know, and I have, and I will, and I'm going to. I mean, this is the way life goes, right? Even being apologetic doesn't work these days, right? Because number
Right.
one, everybody wants accountability. So then everybody comes after you for it, right? And then the next thing you know, you're public enemy number one.
Yeah.
If you're a media person, you're really screwed. And I'm so glad I'm not a media person. Oh,
And
wait,
accountability only is accounted for
kind of are.
when it's somebody on the other side of your perspective, no matter what the topic is, right? If you're on pick whatever it is, and if you agree with those sensibilities, they can do no wrong. And if they're not your same sensibilities, they can do no right, no matter what happens.
So here's what you do.
It's nuts. But anyway, to get away from all that, who knows what's going to happen with lanterns? They're starting up some of the PR stuff here and there with interviews and comments about Aaron Pierre and whatnot. So we'll see. Time will tell how this all plays out. Back to comics though. I don't know about you. I haven't been following DCKO. Have you?
I read that one. It was pretty cool. I like how they set it up. It was neat how they. I thought it was just going to be like a generic, you know, oh, just punch out and fight and blah blah blah. And that. Now they set it up with Dark Side, so it's kind of a neat ploy. I mean, I don't know how to say this without saying it harshly. I don't care, but it was a cool issue. I mean, I don't care who wins. I
Are
mean,
are
everybody in my mind.
are some of the fights happening off the page? Because it seemed like there were
Mm,
results of contests, but I never saw where the fight took place.
That I don't. That I don't know. I don't even know how these results are done, right?
Yeah.
Is it vote in or is it I don't
I
even
don't think it's vote in, but Star Sapphire was well, Batman was supposed to fight Star Sapphire, and
mhm.
Batman was defeated by the Joker, and then the Joker defeated Star Sapphire, and I never saw where that fight supposedly took place. And Guy Gardner is apparently making quite a deep run into this bracket, which I'm sure is influenced by the Superman movie, right?
I would imagine, right?
But I guess if you're interested in it, it's an interesting story. I didn't find it something I was going to follow just because it didn't feel like it was consistent about where you'd find things. And I don't know. I've
I
been
don't
through
even
enough.
know I
Uh,
don't know the purpose of it. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Is
if
it
it's a big DC event, that's cool. And you got, I don't even know what they have on their, I don't even know what they have planned as far as big events go. If this is it, I mean, I guess it's kind of neat. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'll go back to what I said. I don't care.
right, right, right.
I like the individual issues. That's why I read Superman all the time, and that's why I read Green Lantern, Aquaman, stuff. But yeah, that one was it was the one I read was cool. It was a cool concept and how they set it up, and that's pretty much where I'll leave it, so I don't spoil it for
Yeah.
anybody. But go check it out. It's a fun
Yeah.
read. I had enjoyment out of it.
Couple of days ago, Jeremy Adams did ask me anything on Reddit, which was interesting. I didn't get a chance to participate in it, but I went back and read some of the comments. And one of the comments that was asked was about Sornik Natu, which is something you and I wanted to ask him about when we get him back on the show. And
Mhm.
his response was that he himself has no plans for Sornik Natu. She won't be showing up on the pages of the main Green Lantern book. But if anybody's going to do anything with the Sornik Natu, it would be Morgan Hampton on the Green Lantern Corps book. Not saying he's going to, but basically saying, well, if it's going to happen, that's where you'll find it. So we'll see. He was also asked about where does Green Lantern the animated series fit into Green Lantern continuity because there are events that take place in that show which don't fit into comic book continuity at all. His
Yeah.
response was in his head canon, there's a period of time like during the Thorn run or between the Morrison run and the Thorn run or between the Venditti run and the Morrison run. There's some gaps in publication history where events could have taken place. And so in his head canon, Green Lantern the animated series didn't happen exactly as we saw it as a cartoon in continuity, but that some of the events did, such as Razor and Aya, which is why they're there. An interesting way to kind of dodge trying to fit something which doesn't fit. There's not a really good way you could make it fit to kind of make it fit, which is interesting. He was asked a little bit about Kyle. People were a little disappointed that Kyle didn't have more to do. He made a comment that Kyle is going to have a major story arc in the main Green Lantern book coming up soon, and that he was kind of leaving the White Lantern powers kind of the Super Saiyan thing where you can use it for a little bit, then you got to recharge thing. That's kind of where he's going with it, at least for his run and what he's doing with the character. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but whatever, as long as he's being served in some way for his fans, I think it's a good thing. And I got the impression he didn't come out and say this, so this is my interpretation of his comments. But I felt like there was some unspoken things about the fact that Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps would not be really tightly connected in a storytelling way. And that, any major event might be reflected in the other book, but that they weren't going to go lockstep like Green Lantern Corps during the Tomasi era and Jeff Johns era, where those books often interwove with each other. That this is going to be much much looser in that regard. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. In one way I'm really happy about that. In one way I'm like I kind of want to see them a little bit more tightly wound. But we'll kind of see how it all plays out. I think now that Jeremy Adams isn't writing the Green Lantern Corps book, he just kind of wants to step back and give Morgan Hampton the freedom to do whatever he wants to do without being tied back to Jeremy Adams' run. So it's kind of the
Did any,
impression I got.
did anybody ask about Simon Baz?
No,
Dang, knew it.
no questions about Simon Bass that I
I'm,
saw. That I saw.
I'm kind of sad, but
But again, I think his stock response would be he's writing the Green Lantern book, not the Green Lantern Corps book, and those characters are kind of all over there. It's not, they're not the toys he's playing with at this point. Uh,
That's
but
fair. We need to get him back on here though.
yeah, I got to reach out to him now that convention season is over. I'm going to reach out to him. In fact, I'll probably do that by the end of this week to see when he can come on again. So he may be the subject of our next episode. We'll see how the scheduling pans out. He's doing something else. He's got a Kyle Rayner book that was just trying to announced where it's Kyle Rayner in a wrestling thing. I guess when he was doing his Flash run, he built this intergalactic wrestling league thing, and there's some kind of a story going on with Green Lantern, and it's Kyle Rayner that's going to be in that book. I'm not a big wrestling fan, so I'm probably going to skip it. But for those that are interested in it, might be something you want to pick up. And now this is where the episode's going to get a little weird because we're going to cut away to footage that we recorded for this episode initially. That's you opening up a package I sent you. So we're going to jump to that. Then it'll take a break, and then it's going to go to our coverage of Green Lantern 27, and then it's going to cut back to us doing Green Lantern Corps number 9, and then we'll do a closing.
I feel
So,
like we should do like a transform, like the Transformers song.
oh, we should like kind of like Wayne's World. So we'll cut to the footage of you opening up the package I sent you. We'll go to Green Lantern 27, and then join us right back here for Green Lantern Corps number 9. Speaking of stuff, you, sir, have an unboxing to do, a package I
Dude,
sent you. That was a professional segue right there, right?
not Legos.
No, it's not Legos. Not Legos.
All
Uh,
right, we opening it. We doing this now.
yeah, let's do it now. Big shout out to Game Nerds, the place I buy a lot of my board games from. They package things excellently, and so I was able to recycle that box with all of the wonderful packaging they use, and it was like almost the exact perfect size. But no, just a little token of appreciation for our years of friendship and the work you've been doing to be on the show, and the time you've given up from your family to be on the show and talk Green Lantern with me and all those good things.
Really? You had him sign it too?
Yes, I did.
Man, Myron, that's legit.
So for those that are not watching on YouTube, it is the Cyborg McFarlane figure signed by Dan Jurgens.
Oh, man. Man, even the back is cool. The back.
I mean, I told you there was a line.
Man.
I think I even sent you a picture. I might have been a picture of that being signed, saying somebody was getting it signed, if I recall. I may have texted you a picture of that figure, making. I mean, he was signing it, saying that some guy was getting this figure signed. Well, I was that guy.
Oh man, look at that, Jerry Ordway.
Jerry O'Brien. I think that's the first appearance of Cyborg Superman, and the other one might be the first appearance of Hank Henshaw.
Yeah, this one is. That's awesome, man. That's good stuff, Myron. Man, I
Yep.
appreciate that. This is fantastic.
So, yep, no, Jerry O'Brien was there, Dad Jurgens was there, and I'm like, I'm going to get those signed.
I still have yet to meet Dan Jurgens, and I always wanted to meet him.
He's a good guy. He really is.
Yeah. He's been one of my favorite writers, the Superman, for
Yeah.
a
We were
long
fortunate
time.
to, near the end of the Green Lanterns run, he took over writing that, and you and I had
Yeah,
him on the show.
that
It
was
was great,
cool.
but it's not the same as, shaking the guy's hand and being able to have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
And I was telling him as I was having the figure signed that he was your favorite character, and he was like, "Well, that's really cool." And he remembered chatting with us, so it was a nice little chance to talk to him a little bit, and I think he liked getting stuff like that signed because he was signing an awful lot of Superman stuff that day. So to see another character that he'd been really critical in the creation of, a crucial part of that piece
All right.
of his creation was cool. But
And, with all due respect to Superman, he just looks cooler. Man, that's gonna go right with my other one. I got another Cybie up here somewhere. I even got the pop figure Cybie back here. I even got this little you remember the Hero Click?
oh yeah.
Yeah, I found him there too.
But no, when we were starting to plan to go to Terrificon, I'm like, I have those issues. Let me to get those signed. And then I saw the Cyborg Superman figure out and about. And I'm like, I'm going to do the figure too. Why not?
Well, it's appreciated, man. I love you, man. This has been great. The ride's been great with doing this, and I'm I I look forward to it all the time, and stuff like this is just like, I mean, it's noteworthy and it's awesome, but doing this with you is, more meaningful than, more figures we got to put everywhere, right? Where am I gonna put?
Speaking of shrinking space,
Right.
but no, I saw those and I was like, I knew you hadn't had a chance to meet him yet, and then with Jerry Ordway being there too, I'm like, I wanted to do something to just say thanks. So,
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
all right, well, with that said, man, let's dive into Green Lantern number 27.
Banger issue.
So we're leading up to the conclusion of the Starbreaker Supremacy, and the issue opens up with a flashback. And obviously, I don't think it takes much of an eagle eye to see the O'Neill's diner up all night there.
Right, right. Hey,
Uh,
you know what? One thing that's cool down at the bottom, it
mhm.
shows you all the issues and what parts they are.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a neat touch where they kind of highlighted which chapter of the story it is. It's a nice touch. So you can, if you miss something, you at least know where it was.
Right.
Kudos to whoever came up with doing that, but that I thought was really quite good. Interesting flashback. It's a little. It shows the dynamic between Hal and John that we haven't had a chance to really see them have a conversation in a while. And I was glad to see Zermatt go back on pencils with this issue because
Yep.
the art looks so great.
I liked him. I like the personal note. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The down to earth note, which I get the feeling that's what the Lantern series is kind of going to be like a little bit with this, kind of like a precursor to it.
Yeah, there was a comment, I think it was from Chris Mundy just recently saying that this was going to really focus on what these characters are like when they're not wearing their uniforms, which could either be an illusion, a way to temper expectations about whether we're going to see them in uniforms or not, or it could be the fact that it's something like this, that it's going to be more about the people in the uniform more so than the people when they're doing Green Lantern stuff, which again could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what your expectations are. But I thought this was a strong character scene, perhaps a little untypical of Hal being the guy who's always paying the tab. In the past, it's always been Hal getting somebody else to pay the tab or not having the money to pay the tab. So I thought it was nice to see that. Interesting to see the dynamic between the two and Hal making an admission that he was worried about not being special, that kind of thing, and a nice little subtle jab at Guy Gardner as well. So it was a good piece of character work. Obviously made up so that the events that take place later on in the issue have more poignancy because this never occurred before. But it looks good, plays well, not totally out of character at all.
And then we move on to hyperspace.
Yes, and there we go. And we still I'm still waiting for a scene with Hal and Aya. We're seeing them on the ship, and he doesn't even exchange any words with her, which I thought was really weird. But perhaps weirder is Sinestro pointing out that a human Green Lantern has a good idea, makes a good point in a conversation.
I'm telling you, man. I had a comment the other day. I was doing something. I was talking about Sinestro's just nothing but a chump in the new series. He's not the Sinestro that I like. Let's put it that way.
He's lost that condescension that has been kind of a trademark of that character, or a hallmark of that character. Um, he just lacks an edge, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a side character now, just a whatever.
Yeah, yeah. It,
Disappointing.
it was a little disappointing. They're on their way back, and I thought it was interesting that Joe Mullane wants to contact the Justice League, and Jade Stone points out the fact that it really wouldn't make any sense to do that. He kind of, I don't want to say he slapped her down, but he made her look a little naive, which
Well, basically, like we're going to be eliminated by the time they get here.
right, 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 right. And I think it also sets up for what we're going to see with John, what John's gambit is. Um, but we then jump to Oa, and we see some of this stuff about what's going on and what's the plan going to be. They're sending out a distress call to the Rainians and the Omega Men and those kind of things. They're trying to figure out how to light the central batteries. And then this whole sequence with Kelly and Ellie is downplayed where they know about Krona
And
and
it's
nobody wants to listen to what they've got to say. It's like, really?
go away, little girl.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, where's your gauntlet? Oh,
Yeah. It's like, go away,
nobody,
kid.
nobody got.
Go away,
Nobody
kid, you
thought, where's
bother
your
me.
gauntlet? Yeah, I mean, nobody thought, where's your gauntlet at?
Yeah, yeah, go away, kid, you bother me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and then we kind of flash to see Simon Baz. And we see this really interesting sequence where the gauntlet opens up some kind of a containment chamber of some sort or a portal into another dimension. And it says yeah, boy, gestation commencing. Do you think, I think that this is a Krona who is not the original Krona. Like I almost think like this is a protocol that Krona had in place that if something bad happens to me, this is one of many routes back, kind of like uh, to make a Harry Potter reference, like Voldemort and the Horcruxes, kind of an idea. That's how I read it. How did you take it?
I honestly don't know. Or Crona's unleashing something else.
Right? Is it Krona that's this unleashing him and freeing himself, or is this something different? We really don't find out here. I think it's a little odd in this being the next to the last chapter of the story that this plot point is just starting to emerge. It doesn't seem like it's going to play an important role in this story. It seems like it's all set up. But when you look at the upcoming solicitations, Corona factors into nothing. So I'm really not sure. I think if this is a setup for something that's going to pay off in the conclusion, I think it's an awful waste of Corona.
I mean, it could be that, I mean, Krona appears and helps the Lantern Corps, with the Starbreaker.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, maybe, I don't, that's the only thing I took from it. I mean, but again, why would you have this build up of Krona and just, and you said it's not even mentioned in the solicitations moving forward. I mean,
Right.
that doesn't make it very much fun.
And Krona, if this is Krona that's coming back, Krona wants to do away with the Green Lantern Corps, so why would he come back and help the Green Lantern Corps in this situation? Although, is it an enemy of my enemy is my ally? I don't know. I just think that if we're only going to have one issue left and we haven't really revealed what's happening with this yet, that's a lot to pack into one issue. The payoff isn't going to be worth it. Unless this is set up for something that's going to come further down the road. This could be long term plans.
Well, I also think this is a good point, a good spot to point out that Simon Baz was used as a tool.
Yeah,
Poor
yeah.
guy.
He
Poor
he
guy.
he's got to be useful for something, right?
I mean,
Uh, I did like seeing 2/6 show up again. That was nice
mhm.
to see her there.
Yep.
They go to the science cell and John makes this um I don't want to say inspiring speech or motivating speech. Obviously he's not a good salesman, but it's funny. This is the second time now where John in somewhat of a leadership role has gone to appeal to the bad guys to help them out. This happened once before years ago during one of the other runs. It was during I think it was during the Van Jensen run where they get Bofunga and some other characters to help them out in a pinch. I think it was during the whole Derlin storyline that he and Robert Venditti were doing. So I think it's interesting that once again we're appealing to the bad guys. It's an interesting two-page splash, though. That's
Now
for
I
sure.
see Larfleeze on there. Do you
Yeah.
notice any of these other guys?
Well, obviously there's Dexter and Atrocitus. It looks like there's Bleeze. Uh,
Zilius Doc, is that
Zilius Zox, Kanjaro is there.
okay?
It
Yeah.
looks like Bezlabeth is there too, which is Starbreaker's daughter.
Hmm.
She was in the Morrison run. It also looks like Despero is in there, and then there's this one character that I can't tell. He's awful thin is awful thin looking from Mongol. Right above Dexter to the right of Dexter there, up in the upper spot there. I don't know whether I don't know if Mongol's still around or if it's Mongala. I'm not sure.
I
And
can't
that
tell either.
and then you've got Larfleeze up there, and to the right of Larfleeze, it looks like Scalox. And then down in the lower right, it looks like Lyssa Drac. So some of the usual suspects we would see. I can't remember who the guy is when you look at that inner circle, the innermost circle down in the
Mhm.
bottom left there with the
Okay.
scar on his face. I know we've seen that character before, but I cannot remember his name to save my life. And who the eyeball is in the sludge pile with the eyeball in it, I don't remember who they are. And they may be completely new characters. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe the big eye is Starro. I I don't know.
I mean, the big eye would be, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't mean the giant Starro, but isn't there a smaller version of Starro? I don't. It's been a while.
Be cool if you put the names on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would have been kind of a cool thing. Although I imagine maybe that's part of the thing is this is being like done like an Easter egg or something. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who these characters are if they play a role in this upcoming final issue because we don't see what happens here other than they some of them take them up on the offer to help out and we see some of them come back and you see them he apparently while the speech isn't motivational to us it's motivational to them because there's a
Let's
bunch of
see.
them that want to get out and want to help. I mean, are they really going to help or are they going to cut and run?
I
Who
mean,
knows?
I'm cutting and running.
Right. I would expect them to with all, everything that's going on with the threat that's been laid before them. And then John makes a he does the same thing to Kelly and Ellie, which I felt was a little out of character. But then knowing the decision he's making, maybe he just doesn't want to deal with it. But if he's about to let himself go, don't you think he might have a conversation with at least Ellie?
I mean, yeah.
It seems a little odd, but it is what it is. You know, and you see John saying, you know, the inner thoughts, they're just kids. But I don't know. It's just he says a little bit to Ellie, but it just doesn't seem quite as
It's not as poignant as it was in the where
yeah.
it
Yeah,
took place in that prior issue, which you harkening back to that, you and I commented on, where that's going to go or how where they're going to go with that, and this could possibly be that end thread. You know what I mean?
maybe. Although it looks like Ellie is going to show up later on. So I who knows? Who knows? It just I felt like it could have been a little more poignant, but it's always we have expectations of what we want to see, and that's not always what we get. And so that's sometimes when we feel disappointed. But seeing John relight all the batteries using what's left of his powers as the Emerald Knight is a good way to wrap up that thing, those plot threads, and get him back to a sense of normalcy. And obviously, even though it looks like he's disappeared or gone or what have you, we know he's not going anywhere. He'll definitely be back. There's no way they're killing the character off of the TV show coming out, right?
Right. And then of course the rings come back.
Yep, the rings come back, and you see people getting their rings and kind of getting back what they had before, and you see there's Scaleox and Bleeze again, and Atrocitus and Dexter, and so on. And it was nice to see Saint Walker get the blue ring back. That was one of the my for me one of those satisfying things is to see Saint Walker get his ring back.
Yeah. I mean, he is a great character. I like Brother Worth, but
I do too, and I think he was killed, but again, we know what continuity means these days. I mean, Zelia Sax was dead too, and he's back,
right.
so we'll see. I thought it was interesting that a construct is given a blue ring.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed a little odd.
I mean, and the blue ring amplifies the willpower, so
Right. So it takes an already overpowered character and makes her even more overpowered. But
right.
again, what the plan is for these characters, I really don't know. So we have to see how it plays out. It's hard to judge right now because we just don't have enough information. The next page where they all do their oaths and you see a little sliver of each one of the logos, I thought was really great. Interesting to see the Indigo tribe back because they had kind of turned their backs on the Green Lanterns during was it God War? I think it was. What was
Yeah,
the
and what's all of a sudden everybody just showing up now? You know what I mean? Like here they all are. All of a sudden, all the rings are on them. We got all the core back together. Each individual core, and I mean, and they got members. Look at the yellow. There's a lot going
yeah.
on in yellow.
I'm assuming they were all in the science cells.
Must be.
But the Indigo tribe was what was interesting to me because it wasn't God War is not the word. What was the Venditti story with they did with the new gods? Gosh,
No
darn it.
Godhead.
Godhead, thank you. I knew it was God something. Godhead. In Godhead, we saw the betrayal of the Indigo tribe. This leads me to think that the Indigo tribe must have somewhere off panel gotten captured and put in science cells. Otherwise, how else would they be in Oa?
Yeah, that's true.
But interesting to see them all there. I thought it was a cool looking panel that all these people were in the science cells. I
It
can see it, you know.
it's neat how it's written,
Yeah,
because it looks like a pizza.
yeah. I'll take a slice of the emotional spectrum, and then it's prepped for all out war to be concluded.
Next issue is going to be a banger.
I hope so. I hope so. It's a lot of build up, build some expectations, but once again, we're getting the emotional spectrum against a threat larger than them. So it'll be interesting to see how things go forward. And it's almost like this is turning Oa into the Mosaic world again. Although, obviously the Mosaic world was parts of different planets being plucked together and stuck on Oa. But if this is going to continue to be the headquarters for all of the emotional spectrum, it kind of sets it up for an interesting dynamic. Certainly something we haven't seen. I mean, you can't say that they're not doing something original with
Hey,
this.
you know who isn't on here?
Hmm.
The Zamorons.
Yeah, I did notice that when you look at that panel, they were really the only core not represented
Hmm.
in this whole thing. I mean,
Nice.
Does that leave Carol as the sole Star Sapphire? Potentially.
She's not even in this issue.
No, I thought that was interesting too, that she, was nowhere to be seen.
And all this is going on, and she was here the whole entire time. And then all of a sudden, all this is going on in one issue, and she's not here.
Well, here's a
Now,
question for you. Does she know an oath? I mean, I think must have used an oath during Blackest Night and then during that period of time.
well, I hope there's a reason why. I hope it's just not a one-off, kind of like, oh, she just didn't have panel time for her. Really? I mean, she was integral to getting us where we are.
Right,
And
right.
I mean, come on. So I hope it's a purpose. So my theory is the Zamorans are going to show up the next issue with Carol.
And maybe that's where she is. Maybe she's out trying to find out what's going on.
Yeah, I'm going to call it. That's going to be my prediction.
That's your
Hope.
prediction.
Yeah,
So
it sounds cool anyway.
yeah, I mean the reality is the only thing that needs to happen in this final chapter is taking care of the Starbreakers and setting up the new status quo once again for how it's going to operate. And obviously, John is going to show up somewhere along the way, and he's going to be back to normal, which I think is good. I think the problem we have with making characters too overpowered or too unique is somewhere along the way, writers lose the script and it doesn't stick around. It doesn't stick the way it was originally designed. And you've got problems with characters like Joe, who had a unique ring, and now she's just another one of the crowd. There's really nothing that sets her apart. And Simon is Simon, and Jessica really doesn't have a strong story arc either. It goes back to the I hate to hype on the same old thing. There's so many characters that none of them are giving enough page time to really develop or go anywhere as a character. They're basically plot devices, except for perhaps John and Hal and Guy.
Or
Although Guy didn't have much of anything to do in this one either.
or tools. Don't forget tools.
What did you think of the issue overall? I think the art was better. I mean, nothing against V. Ken Marion. It was so, he's an able artist,
No,
but
this was great. I loved it.
yeah,
I thought it was. I mean, it felt like a Blackest Night, not as immense, but it felt big. But I'm more interested in what is on the other side than what's going to
yeah.
happen in the next issue, right? I
It
mean, like you
wasn't.
said, if we're going to have them all together, that's fine. But what are we going to do with them all together? Do you have? I don't want like all right, Starbreaker's over. We're going to start the next arc, and then we got to go through this whole 12 issues or whatever issues of the next story arc. If you're going to do that, you better do it right. I mean, don't just relegate Jessica to having. I don't even think she said anything. I think she said one comment here, but she was on one panel.
In the beginning, she made a comment
Yeah.
that Sinestro commented on.
I mean,
Uh,
I want some of these characters to start getting screen time.
I think, the books are going to diverge after this. Once the storyline is over, they're going to go off and tell their own story. So Green Lantern is going to be its own book, and
Cool.
the Corps is going to be its own book. They're not going to intertwine so much. And there is a mission for Hal coming up in the main Green Lantern title. Would you say that this is kind of like Blackest Night Light?
I mean, yeah, you could say that.
So it's Grayest Night.
Greatest night. But I will say that Necron was a far superior bad guy than Starbreaker. I mean,
Agreed.
Starbreaker kind of reminds me of like a bumbling peacemaker kind of goof, you know, just I don't know. I mean,
It,
doesn't strike me as an imposing, threatening, maniacal villain like Sinestro.
I think it could be interesting if indeed that is Bezlabeth, if she has any confrontation with her father.
That'll be fun. I
Uh,
hope they at least they interact. You know, you got to give them that benefit.
And as divisive as the Thorn run was, and for a lot of people, the Morrison run was divisive as well. They did, a lot of people didn't like it. Thought it was too convoluted for them. To see Adams be respectful of the writers that came before him and pull in little threads that show that those things they do matter. I give him credit there. One of the things I respect about Jeremy Adams is he is a super nice guy and tries to make. Sometimes he tries to make everybody happy to a fault, but I think the fact that he's trying to be respectful of the people that came before him and build on it rather than tear it apart and ignore it. I know if I were the writer, I'd choose to ignore a lot of things that had happened and pretend I would have pretended the last run didn't even exist if it were me. But I'm not as good of a person as Jeremy Adams is.
Well, at least you came out loud and said that. I mean, and I'm not either. But I will say this about Jeremy, you know, I mean, he knows this stuff. And he knows how to reach the fans too. I mean, pulling all these lanterns together, that's good stuff. I mean, fans have been wanting this, you know, and now they're all fighting together. It's kind of cool. It ain't gonna last, but it's cool.
If you look at the overarching his overarching run so far, it started out as a very personal story about Hal and the loss of Kilowog and some setup and things, and he's gone from kind of a smaller scale, more personal story to a cosmic epic story, and maybe epic with a lowercase e, but it's still epic. It's still a space saga. It shows the breadth and depth of his writing abilities, and I'm interested to see what happens once this is over with and he gets back to just writing a regular monthly book, and when he doesn't have to write Green Lantern and help out on Green Lantern Corps, what the stories will be like. Because a lot of this was taking the pieces that came before him and setting up a status quo. And here we are, 26 issues in, we're
Right.
getting to this new status quo. And now let's see where he's going to go with it. I mean, it seems like a lot of setup, but you had to do a lot of work to get all these pieces back to wherever it is you want them to be, which
Well,
is not where they were before he inherited it and before during the John's era. It's not even, he didn't reset anything. It's still an evolution. We now have an OA that is set up for some, I don't want to say political intrigue, but kind of stories where the cores are going to be potentially existing all on the same planet and interacting with each other on an ongoing basis. How are they going to function? That to me could be very interesting, depending on how you tell that story.
this could lead to our Guy Gardner or Kilo hookup, you know, hanging out in
I,
the bar.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I'd be interested to see what happens when they see each other. Because right now, the interceptor has not arrived yet. I hope Jeremy Adams has done the research and knows that that's a thing, so he can see that. I really do hope so. I do.
But like you said, man, I mean, there's a lot of meat on the bone that he's written over the course of this run. You know, this would be awesome in a big collective, you know, and you read it all the way through. I mean, that's probably pretty fulfilling. That being said, he's also established a lot in here too. So he's got a lot of freedom to work off of this now moving forward after the event. Like you said, not be kind of contingent upon stuff that came before.
Right. He now has the freedom to take this franchise where he wants to take it,
Right.
unencumbered by what came before. He's taken a lot of those dangling plot threads and things and kind of wrapped them up a little bit and set them up in a place where he can just go and do what he wants to do. Now we get a chance to see what he wants to do, and I'm for one, I'm excited to see that and hopeful to see what we see in the beginning. It's interesting you mentioned collected editions because I guess I've fallen way behind and missed out on some things, but apparently there's a Robert Venditti omnibus out there. And there's a
Yeah,
volume
he
two coming
actually
up soon.
posted about it.
There's a volume two coming up soon. So it's interesting. At some point you could end up with a Jeremy Adams omnibus, depending on how much content there is.
You know what else came out? Is it the volume two of the G.I. Joe omnibus? Or compendium, the compendium too. I'm gonna have to get that one now too.
All right. Well, I am behind on editing the last episode, so I've got one to edit yet. So we're not gonna do listener feedback this episode to try to make it so I don't have as much of a work to do to get another episode done. I want to try to get these both out in pretty close succession. So we're gonna skip the listener feedback for now. But why don't we take a quick pause and we'll come back and we'll just sign off and go from there.
Sounds great.
In brightest day or blackest night, there's only one place to listen to the best in Green Lantern. That's the podcast of Oa.
Fellow Owens, welcome back. When last we left our lanterns, they were on our way back to Oa. When the fight is going to begin. And here we are for the Starbreaker finale. What a great book. I really enjoyed the ending of this book. But I will say, I think the Starbreaker clan was kind of chump. I didn't think they were as menacing as I
Yeah, I think if
would
anything,
hope they would have been.
they didn't live up to the menace that we were kind of implied that they were going to be at the end. But to jump to the beginning of the story, as you said, the Interceptor is on the way back to Oa. They don't know that John Stewart has sacrificed himself. Um, they approach there. They see that the power ring that has John's mother's essence of sorts detects that John's not there. They get there and discover that the batteries are all lit. And I think, the one thing about having Aya and Razor back in the Interceptor is we never got through this entire story a conversation between Aya and Hal. There was no moment between the two of them. And with these characters, with Hal kind of leaving the Green Lantern Corps book and just appearing in Green Lantern, and Aya and Razor, if they're sticking around, which it sounds like they may be, they will more than likely be in the Green Lantern Corps book. I don't know if we're going to get that for some time, which I think is such a huge missed opportunity from my perspective.
At least touching on a narrative that existed, from the animated
Right,
series to now. I mean, if you're gonna incorporate a character, don't just do it with the superficial vision, right? I mean,
right,
you got to go into it. Okay, so you bring the Interceptor in. Okay, so you bring Razor in. Okay, so it's great that you're throwing all these tools out there, but it's got to have, I mean, you got to have some kind of reasoning for it, right? And where these guys came from. Not a lot of people know about not a lot of people know about Razor and Limb. So,
right. And for
okay,
those that were big fans, it's the reunion, it doesn't resonate because there really is no reunion here other than Razor and Aya.
right. It's just new people to other fans, right? I mean, okay,
Right.
so go reference the Green Lantern animated series, but that's all well and good. But there should be an incorporated narrative that helps people tie those threads that go back to the animated series without being told to go to the animated series. Nobody
Yeah.
says that in here, right? Like you said, nobody knows who these characters are. So
Right. And as important as the relationships between Hal and Razor and Aya and Kilowog were in that animated show, we don't get to see any of that here. We get the Razor Aya experience, but that's really it. And I think for those of us who were really invested in that show, to not see it felt like to me, feels like a huge missed opportunity. But
do I wonder, here's an off the wall question. Let's say when I first appeared or Razor first appeared in one of these comics, if they put a little thing in there for more about Aya and Razor, please visit Green Lantern the animated series. Are they allowed to do that, or is that? I wonder if that's an issue because Adams didn't create those characters,
no,
right?
no. And I'm sure they've got permission to use them. So you would think that if they've got the
Right.
ability to use them, you'd refer to them. But then here's the other part of the question. How can fans find it when it's not streaming anywhere?
Well, never mind. They just came up out of nowhere. I guess these are new characters.
Right.
Jeez.
But I mean, you could refer people to the animated series, but right now I think the only way they can watch it is if they go buy the Blu-ray or something on Amazon.
No,
Um,
that's fair. We'll go buy
There's
the Blu-ray. I mean, it is worth it to have it. I mean, I
oh,
got
it
the
is.
copies. I mean,
I'm glad I
and
have it because you can't stream it. Even on HBO Max, it's not there the last time I looked before I canceled my
it's
subscription.
timeless. Yeah, it's timeless. The stories are timeless. I mean,
Yep.
it fits within any decade we want to watch it in, really.
But anyway, the Hal
Anyway,
and the crew of the Interceptor find out about John as the Starbreakers are coming. The Starbreaker Corps is on their way. So it becomes an all-out fight, which is the same kind of a big battle you would expect to see. And of course, it doesn't go well for all of the ring bearers from all the different emotional spectrum because these vampires just absorb the energy and the attack that comes at them. So it's really a one-sided battle that's going on until something happens with your favorite character, Simon Baz. And now we see, Weezer gets a red ring and Ellie, she's got the green or the blue ring now and so on. But um we flash to Simon Baz, and Simon Baz is there with the gauntlet, and he kind of has come to consciousness after being possessed by the gauntlet, and the gauntlet is counting up to 100%. We don't know exactly what's happening. We kind of all know what's happening. This is like the worst secret in this story about Krona. And Simon Baz disrupts what's happening, the consciousness being downloaded of Krona, and that causes a major problem in which Krona doesn't get his physical body completely restored. What's most fascinating is that Krona is coming back in a body that looks like Hal Jordan's. And it looks like Hal Jordan from before the Adams run. He doesn't have the shoulderless look. He's got the
right.
traditional look. But he's
Mhm.
damaged. He's physically altered. Interesting. I wonder what the play is going to be for Krona because that's really where it ends, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. And of course, now the Guardians, as this thing was disrupted, Guardians the knowledge that the Guardians had is restored. That was something that was being withheld back. They know how to deal with the energy vampires, the Starbreaker Corps. So they need the Green Lanterns and their compatriots basically to keep everybody busy while they do what it is they're going to do. And that
And
kind of stunts the fight, right?
and worth noting, the Guardians aren't the Guardians from before, right? So these are all Guardians that are geared towards the color spectrum and the associated ring, right? So the
Yep.
hope, there's a Guardian for hope, there's a Guardian
And and
for,
and
I don't know why you need.
I think now that all makes sense because now we see that O is going to become this hub for all of the emotional spectrum. Each one of them is going to have a guardian associated with it of some sort. So it sets up an interesting dynamic because you're going to kind of have, for those that have read Mosaic, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Mosaic in that you've got all these different cultures on the Mosaic world at one time that happened back in that series. Here you're going to have Oa becoming the central hub for all of the core, and they don't all get along. They all have different agendas. They're not going to be all functioning together. Granted, they're functioning together now because they're coming together for a common enemy. But once the dust settles, it's going to be interesting how these different characters get along or don't, right?
Well, keep in mind too, it's like mixing your emotions. So you take all that into account when you got all these characters, like Arkillo hanging out in the bar with Guy Gardner having a drink, and then of course, lo and behold, a big fight breaks out in the bar.
Right. It'll be interesting to see how Morganhampton leverages this going forward, but clearly he knows this is what was coming because they've worked together on this. So I think he's got some interesting stories he might be telling. I'm not sure the jury is out for me with him as a writer, but once he's on his own, we'll really get a better gauge for what to expect from him. I thought the resolution, I'm going to say I have mixed emotions about it, pun definitely intended. The whole moth to a flame thing, it just seemed a little underwhelming.
Oh, when they all flew towards what are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Well, with this, the Starbreaker core all get drawn into the central power batteries like moths to a
Oh,
flame.
yeah,
It kind of, it's like, well, that's really not an ending, right?
like
It doesn't
Wreck-It
seem like
Ralph.
nobody won the fight, right?
I think my biggest hang up is I'm sick of the sacrifice trope. I'm sick of every lantern having to sacrifice himself to restart the battery. They got
Right,
to find a
right,
more efficient way to do this, right? And if
right.
you're going to take John Stewart as a character, and he's supposed to be your integral character, he's supposed to be the one that, I mean, this is right. This is what the lanterns are going to be about, is around John Stewart. And then you're going to make him sacrifice himself to start the lanterns up again in this big issue. I don't think that's a good play. I think that undermines him. I think it's a sad trope to use on him as a character because it's been done before. And don't you think he should be relegated to something a little bit better than that if you're going to use him in the future? But that's just me.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm
Well,
tired of seeing it all the time.
what's interesting is, when this story is essentially over, the ring with John's mother's consciousness in it, of sorts, or her essence, goes to the dark sectors and finds the other version of John Stewart.
Right.
And he's there with Katmatui. He did find her. Katmatui looks like she has a cybernetic leg, which is kind of interesting. But this is not the John Stewart that we read about in the War Journal book. This is not the John Stewart that we saw go through the death of his mother. Uh, there's no consciousness transferal. And Morgan Hampton, I said something in an interview recently that John Stewart is gone, that he did some questionable things and he's gone. So
Mm.
there are a lot of John Stewart fans who are like, well, now you just took away a story and character growth that was given to him by Philip Kennedy Johnson and threw it out the window. And so there's some fans, a section of the fandom that is really not happy with all of this.
I
I
mean,
don't,
writers can pick and choose what they want to use, but like at the end of the day, if you're going to undermine a whole entire characterization, that's a different story, right? I mean, there's integral parts of John that I think existed in War Journal, you know. I mean, and there is parts of John that still existed in the Thorn run that I think are relevant. You know, I'm not saying the whole thing, but his characterization. But to sit here and say, well, we're going to get rid of all this, this stuff, we're going to get rid of the mom part of it, the Ellie the Ring, we're going to get rid of all that, we're going to just go to this different John. I mean, I don't know. I don't buy it.
it's interesting because, that John Stewart really didn't, he went through the emotional loss of his mother and then kind of cheated on it, right? But now
Mhm.
we're going to have a John Stewart back in our universe who didn't get that.
Right.
So how is he going to approach that ring, and how is he going to approach Ellie?
And that's even if Morgan Hampton, you know, decides to tap into that, you know, or touch that part or touch that thread, you know.
Right.
I mean, if he's getting rid of all the other prior stuff and he's not going to pay any attention to it, then probably it's going to be one of those write-offs to where it's like, oh, John's just oblivious to all the other shitty stuff he's done
Well, I don't know how Hampton
before,
would,
you know.
I don't know how Hampton would do that, just because they gave Ellie a blue ring.
Right.
So she's obviously sticking around. So how he's going to deal with it, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there could be, and this would be kind of a cheat, but maybe they shared a consciousness, or maybe there's something that happens that John leaves behind for the other John. We don't know. We don't know enough yet. All we know right now is that the John Stewart that went through the War Journal stuff is dead. He's dead. That was an intentional thing. They're not cheating and bringing him back, kind of a thing. Until at least another writer comes along and undoes it all, right? But they kind of threw away all of that work that was done with John. Those stories still exist, and yes, you can still read them. But for fans of the character, now the character's been reset, and we have a John who's gone through adventures that we haven't seen that suddenly is coming back into continuity. So are we going to get some flashback as to what happened while they're there? Or was there more about their connection, and maybe they did experience each other's experiences even though they were separated? We simply don't know at this point. But I understand the outrage, if it's outrage might be too strong of a word, but the disappointment in it. I certainly get that, because while I didn't think the Philip Kennedy Johnson War Journal book was all that great, it was okay. Uh, it did do something that the character needed, because John Stewart does not have um, a supporting cast. He does not have a history of stories to build upon. He doesn't have a legacy. So all that happens with him is that he's given stuff that belongs to other characters. And here was a situation where he was given something and it's kind of all gone.
Hmm.
I think Jon Stewart suffers from the fact that he was created as a backup character and he just doesn't have enough layers. But
And it's interesting because a lot of the narrative that was floating around on Reddit was about, Aaron Pierre, and getting Jon Stewart right. And it's like, okay, well, hold on, what's right? But not,
what does that mean, right?
yeah, what does that mean? Well, what does that mean from multiple perspectives? Because you got his version of what he thinks is right, and then you got who whoever wrote the screenplay who thinks it's right, and then you got the backup crew, whoever wrote the script, who think it's right. So who what are we trying to play here? And what version of Jon Stewart is going to exist in this Lantern series that people have read and seen before? I almost guarantee you this dude went and watched a lot of the animated stuff. He didn't read comic books to get Jon Stewart's persona. I mean, he might have read a few, don't get me wrong. And I'll challenge him if he hasn't. But I bet you a lot of his draw was on the animated stuff because there's already talk about him and Hawkgirl.
That's the disappointment part, right? In that that's not who the character is. That was, and when they say get the character right, that's exactly the point. What version of Jon Stewart are you talking about? What is the right version of Jon Stewart? Hell if I
Yeah.
know.
I wouldn't begin to know. And it's not because I don't care about Jon Stewart. I think Jon Stewart's cool. I just don't think he's done well. I think he's got so many different variations of, and I don't think he's got a really anchored spot on where he should and shouldn't be, like Superman does. You can sit here and throw 500 million versions of Superman out there and nobody cares because it's Superman. But you throw out 500 different versions of Jon Stewart and everybody's like, well, wait a minute. Now I'm confused. What Jon Stewart is this? You know what I mean?
Right. Your casual audience member only knows Jon Stewart from the
Right.
cartoon, the Justice League cartoon, and
Right. Which is, I think, is going to draw a lot of his inspiration
which is a
from.
very flat, two-dimensional, boring character from my perspective. Um,
Unless he went and read some of the hard traveling hero stuff, and maybe he's going to play off of that with Ollie
he
and
was
just
only
spin
in
it away with him. And I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know what kind of play he's coming at with this. He's
yeah.
a new actor to it, and I want to give him his due because he deserves that. It's the first time this character is ever going to be on screen. And I think that's what he was referring to. He was like, okay, well, we're gonna get it right. Means that it's gonna be on screen. I'm gonna make sure I nail it. That nobody's gonna criticize my characterization. And I think that he's gonna be wrong about it.
I don't know how anybody could think it's wrong because of what characterization. Sorry, said it out loud.
But I mean, that's just I don't know. I'm confused by it too. I'm whatever.
Yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
know.
again, Jon Stewart's one of those low tier characters for me, but I do think he needs to have something done well with them. I mean, even the sacrificing thing pissed me off. I was just like, come on. I was like, he's a great character. He's awesome. He didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve to go reignite the battery. They could have found out 100 different other ways to like that reignite the battery. They didn't need Jon Stewart to do it. They should have threw Kyle in there. Baz, get in there and light
Hey,
that
if they
lantern.
could have had Joe and Kelly and Simon and Jessica and who am I missing? Ellie sacrifice themselves to light the battery, I'd be a happy man.
What how many lanterns do you have in this little space right there? Not to mention you got all these other lantern cores there. I mean, not you mean to tell me that further than I don't know. I that trope just gets old, reignite the lantern. God, please. The
How
thing
many
shouldn't go out to begin with. It should be eternal.
how many times have the power battery been destroyed and reignited?
God,
And it was cool the first
that
time,
thing's
right?
been through some grief.
It was cool the first couple of times,
Yeah, that's
but
exactly
but
right.
now it's like, oh, again.
Yeah. Otherwise, good issue though. Good ending to the Starbreaker saga.
I
Emma's
want
cool.
I want to know if there's ever reference again to the power battery on Earth, the central power battery, if that ever shows up again.
Probably not.
It's like, oh
Probably
yeah, I
barely.
forgot there's one here. All right. Well, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll wrap everything up.
Listen up, Lanterns. It's time you took the oath with Green Lantern John Stewart. In brightest day, in blackest night, don't let the podcast of Oa escape your sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light.
All right, welcome back, Green Lantern fans. We are done with another episode. Like I said, it's a little unusual because we've taken two different recordings and slapped them together to make one episode to kind of get us wrapped up with the Starbreaker Supremacy. From here, obviously the Green Lantern series and the Green Lantern Corps series kind of separate ways for a little bit. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. For next episode, we've got an issue of Green Lantern we can talk about. We've also are looking at the Jeremy Adams interview. Plus, we can always go back and look at Absolute Green Lantern, the second 6 issues or 3 issues of it, 3 issues, and talk more about that. So we've got some content coming up, and hopefully now that Halloween is over, we can record on a much more regular basis and get ourselves in a schedule and a groove.
Yeah, October's not a good month for you.
No, well, September and October for me, work is crazy, but next year it'll be so much easier because I'll be retired.
There it is.
That's right. 321 days from this recording date.
You got that counted down, don't you?
Yeah, I have an app on my watch counting down for me. Can't
Go
happen
you.
quick enough.
Go you. I got a few years left.
All right. Well, friends, thank you for joining us and sticking around, and we hope to have some more stuff for you again real soon. Till next time, keep that power ring charged, take care of yourselves, and make every day your brightest day. Take care now. Thanks so much for watching this Green Lantern video from the blog of Oa. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find even more great Green Lantern videos, reviews, podcasts, and more at our main website, www.blogofoa.com. So until next time, keep your power ring charged and make every day your brightest day.